So we are, as many of you know, on the eve of the 75th anniversary of Ramana Maharshi's Maha Nirvana, which is 14th of April. So he left the body on 14th of April 1950. So that's why the topic of death is very interesting to explore in that context. So there is an incident when there were two people who were carrying a corpse, and they had just done with dumping the corpse, and then they came to the ashram right away. And the tradition has it that if you have touched the corpse, you have to take a bath before you can eat food. But they came to the ashram right away, and Ramana Maharshi said, serve them food. And of course the traditional people objected. They said, Bhagavan, they have not taken bath. And he said, well, you are all carrying a corpse inside anyway. What's the difference? That statement is so powerful that if we explore that statement, that is in fact the whole essence of the teaching. Because what does he mean, and what does the tradition even mean? The tradition says, and we always tend to take these things literally, and therefore we think pouring some water on the body cleanses us, and of course externally it purifies to some extent. But the whole inner meaning of the whole tradition is what was pointed out by Ramana Maharshi there, which is that the corpse we carry is the image of the past, which is our ego. And the water in which it has to be purified is the water of jnana, wisdom, which removes the stain of ego. So what does it mean? If we really explore that one sentence, how powerful it is, we can see both the profundity and the simplicity of it. Because when we actually interact every moment, when we see, hear, think, speak, act, who is doing all of this is the question, right? And that is the essence of self-inquiry as well. So the pointer is that it is the dead ego that is actually doing all of that. So when I am observing something, as long as there is the observer who is interfering with the observation, then all observation is happening from the filter of the past, which is dead. So I may carry a bunch of ideas about me as the self-image, as to who am I with my own limited conception, right? In terms of my background, my gender, my profession, my likes, my dislikes, my knowledge, my memories, my theories. All of this bundle is what is the image we carry. And that image is what is actually seeing everything. So when I'm looking at something, when I'm hearing something, similarly, there is an instant translation of the observing or the listening from the standpoint of the listener or the observer. So I am immediately judging it, liking it, disliking it, finding it very good, very bad, right, wrong. And all of this happens from the standpoint of this observer, right, or the listener. So, what is operating every moment is something that is dead. That is the beauty of this profound statement. And if we see that, actually, it's so liberating. It's actually not me, it is something that is operating as memory. Who is judging? Memory, right? That which has been collected over the past as memory, which is ego, which is the self image, which is me. And this me has, of course, different avatars depending on the situation. And based on that, there are different attachments it has. And all of this comes into play when I am actually perceiving something or when I am doing something, right? So there is always the interference of the observer or the listener who is the past, who is actually doing the seeing. And therefore, whatever I see is not actually real, it is only from the image of what I believe myself to be. So it is like wearing tinted glasses. I'm wearing glasses which are colored in some way, and through that I'm watching anything and always translating, right? Always we are seeing, okay, what's in it for me, whether it's something I agree with, disagree with, all of that. And the same movement comes even in the spiritual realm, where we collect a lot of information, collect a lot of knowledge, and then we tend to, based on that, figure out which is agreeable, which is not agreeable. I have to learn more, I have to study more, I have to know more. We complicate the whole thing. So when it is pointed out that this is very simple, Ati Sulabham, why it is not so simple is because the mind likes to complicate things, right? So we are always thinking that I have to, therefore the I, which is the part, which is the entire collection of the past, always thinks there is something lacking because it's always limited. It's always something that's very limited based on the amount of memory I can have, experiences I have, and truth is infinite. And therefore there is this unbridgeable gap, and therefore at any given moment the I feels that I'm not there yet, I need to do more, and therefore it creates this illusion that by doing more, knowing more, learning more, practicing more, I will get there. And that is the core illusion that is preventing us from seeing the simplicity of it, because that which is covered by this false image. So we are carrying this dead corpse, to use that metaphor beautifully pointed out by Ramana Maharshi, that we are always operating from that standpoint. We are operating as the ego, and that ego is clearly a collection of everything that is dead. That nothing is alive now. Whatever I've learned in the past, whatever I have gathered in the past, whatever possessions I have collected in the past, I superimpose the sense of me on all of that, and then based on that I am looking at everything. So even a simple thing as a relationship is always happening, that's why, between images, right? There is an image of the me, and then I've also built an image of the other, and the relationship is between the images. I don't actually see the other person, I see the image of the other person. I have an image of me, and if the image of the other person is satisfactory or is pleasing, then I like him or her. If not, I don't like him. All of this happens even at a simple level of how we relate to people, relate to things. I therefore get cravings, the urges to do things, the fears. Every little thing is coming out of this dead corpse that is always being carried within, and it seems to have taken over. It's like a ghost, because it's not alive, it's dead, and yet it seems to be acting. And that is what is constantly interfering. And the same ghost is what is also engaging in now seeking and realizing the truth, realizing the eternal. And therefore it is an impossible game. And we are constantly finding this difficulty. So the pointer is therefore to not ever make the false self realize the truth, but simply see the falsity of the false self, and the truth is here already. So if we recognize therefore that this corpse, this dead image I carry, is actually entirely a fiction, right? Because it doesn't exist anywhere except in my own mind. All it is just a collection of things, and it is simply the movement of the past, which is both interfering with the present as well as projecting the future. So even future is therefore nothing but a modification of the past. Whatever I can think of as future is only based on the past. And therefore, even the future I project is past. The present is also past, because whatever I'm seeing now is based on the past. That is why something like living in the moment, it may sound very nice, but who is living in the moment? Again, is a question that one has to ask. Because if the same past dead image is living in the moment, it is simply going to translate the present moment based on its knowledge, its memory, and thereby cause the same duality, the same delusion. It may be slightly better than constantly ruminating about the past or constantly worrying about the future, but it's still the same egoic movement which is trying to be in the moment. But the core question, that's why, is who is trying to do all this? And that is the essence of self-inquiry, right? Who is this ghost that is constantly has taken over the body, taken over everything, and it is assuming control and thereby operating every faculty, taking ownership of it and making decisions. So all the decisions, all the judgments, everything is coming from this ground. And even in the realm of, therefore, meditation, the same ego comes in, the same past memory comes in and says, I have to gain an experience, or I have to gain some knowledge, comparing with others. How can I ever realize this, because I am this and that, I'm whatever deficiencies it throws up. So all these movements of comparing, measuring, contrasting, wanting more, all of this is coming from the sense of lack, which is what the past image of the ego projects. So the simple and direct pointer is therefore to recognize that this whole movement is not me, is just a false image that is being projected by memory, by mind, by this conditioning, whatever we call it. It doesn't matter what the reason is, it is there. It can be genetic, it can be biological, whatever it is. As I believe the Buddha once said, if an arrow hits you, don't investigate who sent the arrow, first take the arrow out. So we don't have to worry about what is the reason why it is there, but it is there in every human being apparently. And it is the source of all suffering, because we are constantly therefore dividing against each other, and this is the source of. So when I say I am a particular religion, that is again the past, and then I am dividing against someone from another religion, there is war, nationalities. So every conflict at the macro level and at the micro level, all suffering, all negativities, everything comes out of it. So one of the important things to recognize is this is not some therefore something that is apart from the world and only for a few who are interested in this. In reality, it's the most practical wisdom that everyone should be aware of. Of course, we don't talk about it. It is the most important education, and yet we are not drawn to it because we are constantly caught in this sense of identity. And the identity is so strong that wherever we go, we want to carry that identity. So even in this realm, we therefore want to take refuge in this identity and thereby project and protect this ego. And we will make some nice golden cages for this and feel very good about it too. But all of this is the dead corpse that is simply a memory, and that is simply obstructing with the contact with this living reality right now. So when we recognize this, that the very source of all of this, the very reason why all of this manifests is because of our wrong belief in the ego as I. And when that belief is seen through, and therefore the identification goes away, then what shines forth is the pure being. So when we are, as we know, when in deep sleep, for example, when this false ego is not operating, there is a sense of peace because there is naturally no image that is coming in the way and obstructing anything, and there is the ground of peace is shining forth on its own. Similarly, when we are sitting in silence, when we are maybe walking through woods and not having any movement, because even there it's very easy to get caught in this notion of how beautiful it is and taking pictures of it and trying to record it for the ego to capture it and take it as part of its bag. So if you are in this complete stillness, and it can happen anywhere, then right there we are free of the false image. That image is gone, and there is direct contact with truth, which is peace and which is pure being, pure awareness, all of it. So what obstructs it is this, and that is why a very beautiful instruction I was again reading yesterday. There was this great one of the most wonderful devotees called Mastan Swami of Ramana Maharshi, who is a very beautiful story of his own, and he gave him only one instruction. He said, put your attention to where thoughts are coming from and keep it there, and the truth will shine forth on its own. Right? That is what he said. So when the thought rises, so he said it's very precisely worded too. He said in Tamil, I'll say, Gavanathai Ennangal Udikum Edathil Nilainiruthinal Manamadangi Unmai Thanai Olirum. That's what he said. What it means is, when you keep the attention at the place where the thought rises, then the mind will subside and truth will shine forth on its own. So what this means is, when we are, whether sitting in meditation or when we are even interacting, talking or listening or anything, attention has to be very alert to the rising of the image which is thought. Because if you are not alert, it takes over. It immediately comes up and says, I am listening and I like this and I don't like this and I agree with this. So we may see this happening even now. I mean, at any given moment, if we are very alert, we will see that there is a sense of judgment that is going on because of the false sense of me that is translating every interaction, whether it's something as simple as watching something, listening to something, whatever it may be. So attention, if it goes to that place, so that is why it is not easy, but it is very simple, because we don't have to learn anything, we don't have to gain new knowledge, we don't have to study any books, we don't have to have any yogic experience, none of that is necessary, right? All we need is this alert attention. If we are completely attentive every moment, that we are fully awake, and we can catch ourselves every moment, then like when we are walking around, when we are just sitting alone, when we are watching something, how this thing comes up and says it's judging, it's liking, it's disliking, it's saying he's crazy, he's right, this, that. Normal state of being is unconscious identification with that voice, which is the false me, which is the dead corpse we are all carrying. That's what he points out. For us to be free of the dead corpse and to wash in the waters is actually this attention. The attention is the Ganga which cleans the dead corpse out. So when we are attentive completely, then we first catch it. The first thing we do is we can catch. And that's why meditation is not an activity that is something to be done just morning and evening or something like that. But it is an ongoing process. That's why in many places Ramana Maharshi says it is a constant process. Only novices will allocate meditation for morning and evening. For one who is a sincere seeker, it is all through, because every moment we can be in meditation if we are in this attention. And if we are alert in this attention, we are dipping in Ganga all the time. And that is cleansing out the dead corpse, because every moment this corpse rises, we have to be alert, and we have to thereby negate the rising of the false me. And if we negate the rising of the false me, then what is there is the pure being, which is peace. So we don't have to actually do anything to get that. We simply have to remove the veil that blocks that. And that is why in many places it is pointed out that if you are trying to get to a place where you are already there, there is no path to get there. The only thing that's blocking us is our own delusion that we are not there yet. So in a very simple way, for example, he would say, Ramana Maharshi would say, you are in Ramanashram and asking how to get to Ramanashram. That's what we do all the time, right? How do I get this? How do I realize this? How do I, what is the path? And that's why it's called the pathless land, because there is no path to get there, because we are already there. The only thing that's hiding it is the veil that we are projecting, which is covering it up and imagining it to be somewhere out there. So we have to, therefore, if we believe in the story that it's somewhere out there and we have to get it and we have to realize it and self-realization will happen one day, that is the way to perpetuate this ego, which it will never arrive, but it is now. So we have to, therefore, every moment be alert, attentive, and recognize that this false ego that's rising as me is the dead image of the past. And if the dead image that is collected as me is negated, what is there is Bhagavan. So he shines through when I am not there. And therefore, what is in the way is the me. It is not that I can do something to get to Bhagavan, it is that I have to just get out of the way. And that is all there is to this entire beautiful process. He is seeing through our eyes all the time otherwise. He is the one who is seeing, who is listening, But we have put this colored glasses on top of it, and therefore we are tainting it, we are coloring it with our own stupid, silly judgments and all the rest that goes on with activities of ego. When we negate it, and all we need to do is therefore to see that this is false. And if we see that, so that requires alert attention. If we see that what's rising as judgment, what's rising as likes or dislikes, being proud about something, being insecure about something, there is a million ways in which that rises up, and so therefore one requires a lot of alertness. Every time the me rises in every form, if you are alert at the point where it rises, as he says, not let it run, because if it runs, it is already got on a life of its own, the ghost which is dead, which seems to be living. But if we catch it the moment it rises, then we are free of it by simply seeing it. So that's why there is a beautiful example given in the book Who Am I, which is where he says, no matter how many enemies come out of the fort, each time you slay the enemy, right? Now, that has to be seen in this light correctly. It is not about the enemy is thought, that is the egoic identification. But it is not about another thought that will kill this thought, because then we are playing the same game. So if I use willpower and say, no, I have to not think, or I have to not identify, then that is another me that is acting on this me. So the thinker and the thought are non-different. The thinker is another thought. The one exercising willpower is another thought. So it is not about, therefore, suppressing thoughts. It is not about taking a stand as someone who is going to control thoughts, because all of that is again something that comes and goes. It's all an image. I might have learned somewhere that if I watch my breath, then I can subside the thoughts, or if I simply exercise my willpower, or any of that. But we don't need any of that, because all of that is ultimately going to not last, because they are all again memories collected from the past. They are also images, right? It's again the same ego that's acting as the meditator and trying to do meditation. But real meditation is when the meditator is absent. So there is only attention, there is nothing else, and that attention doesn't judge, it doesn't say it's right, it's wrong. It's just very attentively aware that this me is rising, and that is not me. That is just an image from the past. And it is simply a phenomenon that comes and goes, because it's constantly changing, it's constantly taking different forms. It has no permanent structure, and it is only relying on our false identification to sustain itself. And therefore, when I am very attentive, and in that attention I simply watch, I don't have to therefore, if I get back into the game of, oh, this is a good thought, that's a bad thought, I am again making the same movement of getting identified with another version of the ego. But instead, if I just am aware, it doesn't matter what the thought is. It is not, there is no such thing as my thought, there is just thought. And this thought is rising from memory, which is the past. And that past is having its own momentum, and it's wanting to perpetuate itself, and it's rising up. And it's rising up, and when I am aware of it at the point where it rises up, and therefore I do not identify with it, then it has no hold. And what remains is that awareness which is attentive, which is purely without any choice, without any judgment, which is simply watching very clearly. And we can ask the question, who is having the thought, or we can simply watch the one having the thought. It's the same thing. Whichever way, the moment the thought rises, if we say who's having this thought, we will see that I am having this thought, and we can thereby turn attention towards the source from which the thought comes up. And that source, which is beneath the ego, which is beneath the ground from which all these come up, is the very awareness itself. So it is the ground of awareness, which is pure attention, in which all of these phenomena manifest. So when we are able to therefore hold this attention very clearly, then grace takes over. We are able to hold this alertness, and when this alertness is there, this attention is there, then the unconscious identification with this movement of the me by and by comes down, and what shines forth is the pure being. So that is the dipping in the waters of Ganga to remove the dead corpse. And that death of the ego and awakening to this wisdom of Ganga, the Jnana Ganga as it is called, is the essence of self-inquiry. It's the essence of surrender. It is true meditation. It is true yoga, whatever term we can use, because it is just that presence which is free of the false me. So that is the way we actually commune with Bhagavan, because when we are not there, he shines forth. When I want to hold myself and hold him, that's not possible. We can only project an image of him, and then we want to have some sort of security in that image and all of that. But if we truly want to find him, we have to go. And so that is the pointer of Ramana Maharshi, that truth is so simple if we are ready to die to our false image. But we hold that so dear that it seems so hard. But if we see the beauty of his pointer and the grace that comes out of it, then we can see the simplicity of it actually. It is so simple. If we can even taste that simplicity one time, then we see this is indeed true. There is no exaggeration in any sentence that comes forth from a pure being. So when he says Ati Sulabham, it's not an exaggeration to encourage. It is literally so simple. But we don't make it, as it is said, the mind loves complexity, so we don't want the simplicity. But if we see the simplicity of it, then there is the beauty of it. And that is true prayer, gratitude, love, all of that. So we can, as this 75th anniversary comes of Ramana Maharshi leaving the body, he said, as many know, where can I go? I'm always here. So what does it mean? We imagine that to be again some external entity. No, he is that inner being that is always there. So if we dip in this river of Ganga, wisdom, and remove the dead corpse, then he shines through. Until then, we don't come in contact with him. We can only come in contact with an image of him, which is okay, but ultimately the true contact happens only when all the images go. So that is the essence of that sentence he said, "I am always here," because that is the only reality there is. And so we can find him now by this very simple pointer, and we can feel his presence then. Then what operates is Bhagavan every moment. Actually, any moment when we are free of the ego, that's Bhagavan operating. That's directly the divine radiating. Every time I remember reading about this many times, every time people would create big celebrations for Jayanti, he said the best way to celebrate is to sit and inquire. Why are you doing all this? But people, even in his physical presence, they didn't want to listen. They said, no, we'll do a big celebration, we'll do this, we'll do that. That's what the ego does. We can even go to space and come back. But this we will not do. Because whatever effort outwardly we have to do, we have done it, right? But even, it's funny, when I was looking at this, people in space, I mean, they've gone outside Earth and still they are caught in the image, the ego. That's what, like, you see them. So it shows that, like people say, when I go outside of Earth and see that the whole Earth is one small planet, my perspective will change. But it doesn't change. People come back and do the same stuff. Nations fight over space exploration and all that. So it's a beautiful revelation that no outer experience will make it happen. It doesn't matter. Because it's not a movement in time. It's not something that can be done in time. The timeless is eternally here. And every activity in time is going to only postpone it, and it will never arrive, because time can never touch the timeless.